The fifth, night the fifth, the relapse, humbly inscribed to the Right Honourable, the Earl of Lichfield. Lorenzo, to recriminate is just. Fondness of fame is avarice of air. I grant the man is vain who writes for praise. Praise no man ever deserved, who sought no more. As just thy second charge, I grant the muse has often blushed at her degenerate sons, retained by sense to plead her filthy cause, to raise the low, to magnify the mean, and subtilize the gross into refined, as if magic numbers, powerful charm, 'twas given to make a civet of their song, obscene, and sweet in order to perfume. Wit, a true pagan, deifies the brute, and lifts our swine enjoyments from the mire. The fact notorious, nor obscure the cause, we wear the chains of pleasure and of pride. These share the man, and these distract him too, draw different ways, and clash in their commands. Pride, like an eagle, builds among the stars, but pleasure, lark-like, nests upon the ground. Joy is shared by brute creation, pride resents, pleasure embraces. Man would both enjoy, and both at once. A point how hard to gain, but what can't wit, when stung by strong desire? Wit dares attempt this arduous enterprise, since joys of sense can't rise to reason's taste. In subtle sophistry's laborious forge, wit hammers out a reason new, that stoops to sordid scenes, and meets them with applause. Wit calls the graces the chaste zone to loose, nor less than a plump god to fill the bowl. A thousand phantoms and a thousand spells, a thousand opiates scatters, to delude, to fascinate, inebriate, lay asleep, and the fooled mind of man is delightfully confound. Thus that which shocked the judgment shocks no more, that which gave pride offence no more offends. Pleasure and pride by nature mortal foes, at war eternal, which in man shall reign. By wit's address patch up a fatal peace, and hand in hand lead on the rank debauch, from rank refined to delicate and gay. Art, cursed art, wipes off the indebted blush from nature's cheek, and bronzes every shame. Man smiles in ruin, glories in his guilt, and infamy stands candidate for praise. All writ by man, in favour of the soul, these sensual ethics far in bulk transcend the flowers of eloquence, profusely poured over spotted vice, fill half the lettered world. Can powers of genius exercise their page and consecrate enormities with song? But let not these inexpiable strains condemn the muse that knows her dignity, nor meanly stops at time, but holds the world as 'tis in nature's ample field a point in her esteem, from hence to start, and run the round of universal space, to visit being universal there, and being source, that utmost flights of mind. Yet, spite of this so vast difference, well knows, but what is moral, nor is great. Sing sirens only? Do not angels sing? There is in poesy a decent pride, which well becomes her when she speaks to prose. Her younger sister, haply not more wise. Think'st thou, Lorenzo, to find pastimes here? No guilty passion blown into a flame, no foible flattered, dignity disgraced, no fairy field of fiction, all in flower, no rainbow colours here, or silken tale, but solemn counsels, images of awe, truths which eternity lets fall on man with double weight, through these revolving spheres, this death-deep silence and incumbent shade. Thoughts such as shall revisit your last hour, visit uncalled, and live when life expires. And thy dark pencil, midnight, darker still, in melancholy dipped, embrowns the whole. Yet this, even this, my laughter-loving friends, Lorenzo, and thy brothers of the smile, if what imports you most can most engage, shall steal your ear, and chain you to my song. Or if you fail me, know, the wise shall taste the truths I sing, the truths I sing shall feel, and, feeling, give assent, and their assent is ample recompense, is more than praise, but chiefly thine, O Lichfield, nor mistake. Think not untraduced I force my way, Narcissus not unknown, not unallied, by virtue or by blood, illustrious youth. To thee, from blooming amaranthine bowers, where all the language harmony descends, uncalled, and asks admittance for the muse, a muse that will not pain thee with thy praise that drops, by noblest inspired. O thou, blessed spirit, whether the supreme, great ante-mundane Father, in whose breast embryo creation, unborn being dwelt, and all its various revolutions rolled, present, though future, prior to themselves, whose breath can blow it into naught again, or, from his throne, some delegated power who, studious of our peace, dost turn the thought from vain and vile to solid and sublime. Unseen thou leadest me to delicious draughts of inspiration from a purer stream, and fuller of the god than that which burst from famed Castalia, nor is yet allayed my sacred thrift, though long my soul has ranged through pleasing paths of moral and divine, by thee sustained and lighted by the stars. By them belt lighted are the paths of thought. Nights are their days, their most illumined hours. By day, the soul, o'erborne by life's career, stunned by the din, and giddy with the glare, reels far from reason, jostled by the throng. By day, the soul is passive, all her thoughts imposed, precarious, broken, immature. By night, from objects free, from passions cool, thoughts uncontrolled and unimpressed, the birth of pure election, arbitrary range, not to the limits of one world confined, but from ethereal travels light on earth, as voyagers drop anchor for repose. Let Indians and the gay, like Indians, fond of feathered fopperies, the sun adore. Darkness has more divinity for me. It strikes forth inward, it drives back the soul to settle on herself, our point supreme. There lies our theatre, there sits our judge. Darkness, the curtain drops o'er lifestyle scene, 'tis the kind hand of Providence stretched out, twixt man and vanity, 'tis reason's reign, and virtue's too. These tutelary shades are man's asylum from the tainted throng. Night is the good man's friend, and guardian too. It no less rescues virtue than inspires. Virtue, forever frail as fair below, how tender nature flutters in the crowd, nor touches on the world without a stain. The world's infectious. Few bring back at eve immaculate the manners of the morn. Something we thought is blotted, we resolved is shaken, we renounced returns again. Each salutation may slide in a thing unthought before, or fix a former flaw. Nor is it strange, light, motion, concourse, noise, all scatters abroad, for outward bound, neglectful of our home affairs, flies off in fume and dissipation, quits her charge, and leaves the breast unguarded to the foe. Present example gets within our guard, and acts with double force by few repelled. Ambition fires ambition, love of gain strikes like a pestilence from breast to breast. Riot, pride, perfidy, blue vapours breathe, and inhumanity is caught from man, from smiling man, a slight, a single glance, and shot at random, often has brought home a sudden fever to the throbbing heart of envy, rancour, or impure defy. We see, we hear with peril, safety dwells, remote from multitude. The world's a school of wrong, and what proficients swarm around, we must, or imitate, or disapprove, must lift as their accomplices or foes. That stains our innocence, this wounds our peace. From nature's birth, hence, wisdom has been smit with sweet recess, and languished for the shade. This sacred shade and solitude, what is it? 'Tis the felt presence of the deity. Few are the faults we flatter when alone. Vice sinks in her allurements, is unguilt, and looks like other objects, black by night an atheist half believes a god. Night is fair virtue's immemorial friend. This conscious moon, through every distant age, has held a lamp to wisdom, and let fall on contemplation's eye her purging ray. The famed Athenian, he who wooed from heaven philosophy the fair, to dwell with men and form their manners, not inflame their pride, while over his head, as fearful to molest his labouring mind, the stars in silence slide, and seem all gazing on their future guest, See him soliciting his ardent suit in private audience. All the livelong night, rigid in thought and motionless, he stands, nor quits his theme or posture till the sun, rude drunkard, rising rosy from the main, disturbs his nobler intellectual beam, and gives him to the tumult of the world. Hail, precious moments, stolen from the black waste of murdered time, auspicious midnight. Hail, the world excluded, every passion hushed, and opened a calm intercourse with heaven. Here the soul sits in council, ponders past, predestines future action, sees, not feels, tumultuous life, and reasons with the storm. All her lyres answer, and thinks down her charms. What awful joy! What mental liberty! I am not pent in darkness. Rather say, if not too bold, in darkness I'm embowered. Delightful gloom. The clustering thoughts around spontaneous rise and blossom in the shade, but droop by day and sicken in the sun. Thought borrows light elsewhere from that first fire, fountain of animation. Hence descends Urania, my celestial guest, who deigns nightly to visit me, so mean, and now conscious how needful discipline to man, from pleasing dalliance with the charms of night, my wandering thought recalls, to what excites far other beat of heart, Narcissus' tomb. Or is it feeble nature calls me back, and breaks my spirit into grief again? Is it a Stygian vapour in my blood, a cold, slow puddle creeping through my veins? Or is it thus with all men, thus with all? What are we? How unequal! Now we soar, and now we sink, to be the same, transcends our present prowess, dearly pays the soul for lodging ill, too dearly rents her clay. Reason, a baffled counsellor, but adds the blush of weakness to the bane of woe. The noblest spirit fighting her hard fate in this damp, dusky region, charged with storms, but feebly flutters, yet untaught to fly, or flying, short her flight and sure her fall, our utmost strength when down, to rise again, and not to yield, though beaten, all our praise. 'Tis vain to seek in men for more than man. Though proud as promise, big in previous thought, experience damps our triumph. I, who late, emerging from the shadows of the grave, where grief detained me, prisoner, mountain high, through wide the gates of everlasting day, and called mankind to glory, shook off pain, mortality shook off in ether pure, and struck the stars. Now feel my spirits fail. They drop me from the zenith, down I rush, like him whom fable fledged with waxen wings, in sorrow drowned, but not in sorrow lost. How wretched is the man who never mourned! I dive the precious pearl in sorrow's stream. Not for the thoughtless man that only grieves, takes all the torment and rejects the gain, inestimable gain, and gives heaven leave to make him but more wretched, not more wise. If wisdom is our lesson, and what else ignobles man? What else have angels learned? Grief, more proficients in thy school are made than genius or proud learning e'er could boast. Voracious learning, or often overfed, digests not into sense her motley meal. This bookcase with dark bory almost burst, this forager on others' wisdom leaves, her native farm, her reason quite untilled, with mixed manure that surfeits the rank soil, dunged but not dressed, and rich to beggary, a pomp untamable of weeds prevails, her servants' wealth encumbered wisdom mourns. And what says genius? Let the dull be wise. Genius, too hard for right, can prove it wrong, and loves to boast, where blush men less inspired, it pleads exemption from the laws of sense, confides reason as a leveller, and scorns to have a blessing with the crowd, that wise it could be, thinks an ample claim to glory, and to pleasure gives the rest. Crassus but sleeps, Ardelio is undone. Wisdom lets shudder at a fool, than wit, but wisdom smiles when humble mortals weep, when sorrow wounds the breast as ploughs the glebe, and hearts obdurate feel her softening shower, her feed celestial, then glad wisdom sows, her golden harvest triumphs in the soil. If so, Narcissa, welcome my relapse. I'll raise a tax on my calamity, and reap rich compensation from my pain. I'll range the plenteous intellectual field, and gather every thought of sovereign power to chase the moral maladies of man. Thoughts which may bear transplant into the skies, though natives of this coarse, penurious soil, nor wholly wither there, where seraphs sing, refined, exalted, not annulled in heaven. Reason, the sun that gives them birth, the same in either clime, though more illustrious there, these choicely culled and elegantly ranged, shall form a garland for Narcissus' tomb, and, peradventure, of no fading flowers. Say, on what theme shall puzzled choice descend? The importance of contemplating the tomb. Why men decline it? Suicide's foul birth, the various kinds of grief, the faults of age, and death's dread character invites my song. And first, the importance of our ends surveyed, friends' counsel, quick dismission of our grief, mistaken kindness, our hearts heal too soon. Are they more kind than he who struck the blow? Who bid it do his errand in our hearts, and banish peace, till nobler guests arrive, and bring it back a true and endless peace? Calamities are friends, as glaring day of these unnumbered lustres robs our sight. Prosperity puts out unnumbered thoughts of import high and light divine to man. The man how blessed, who sick of gory scenes, scenes apt to thrust between us and ourselves, is led by choice to take his favourite walk, beneath death's gloomy, silent cypress shades, unpierced by vanity's fantastic ray, to read his monuments, to weigh his dust, visit his faults, and dwell among the tombs. Lorenzo, read with me Narcissa's stone. Narcissa was thy favourite. Let us read her moral stone. Few doctors preach so well, few orators so tenderly can touch the feeling heart. What pathos in the date apt words can strike, and yet in them we see faint images of what we here enjoy. What cause have we to build on length of life? Temptation sees when fear is laid asleep, and ill foreboded is our strongest guard. See from her tomb, as from an humble shrine, truth, radiant goddess, sallies on my soul, and puts delusion's dusky train to flight, dispels the mist our sultry passions raise, from objects low, terrestrial and obscene, and shews the real estimate of things, which no man, unafflicted, ever saw, pulls off the veil from virtue's rising charms, detects temptation in a thousand lies. Truth bids me look on men as autumn leaves, and all they bleed for as the summer's dust. Driven by the whirlwind, lighted by her beams, I widen my horizon, gain new powers, see things invisible, feel things remote, am present with futurities, think naught to man too foreign, as the joys possessed not so much his as those beyond the grave. No folly keeps its colour in her fight. Pale worldly wisdom loses all her charms. In pompous promise from her schemes profound, if future fate the plans, 'tis all in leaves, like Sibyl, unsubstantial, fleeting bliss. At the first blast it vanishes in air. Not so, celestial. Wouldst thou know, Lorenzo, how differ worldly wisdom and divine? Just as the waning and the waxing moon, more empty, worldly wisdom every day, and every day more fair her rival shines, when later there's less time to play the fool. Soon our whole term for wisdom is expired. Thou knowest the cause no counsel in the grave, and everlasting fool is written fire, or real wisdom wafts us to the skies. As worldly schemes resemble Sibyl's leaves, the good man's days to Sibyl's books compare. In ancient story read, thou knowest the tale, in price still rising, as in number less, inestimable quite his final hour. For that who thrones can offer thrones. In solvent worlds the purchase cannot pay. Oh, let me die his death, all nature cries. Then live his life, all nature falters there. Our great physician daily to consult, to commune with the grave our only cure. What grave prescribes the best? A friend's. And yet, from a friend's grave, how soon we disengage, even to the dearest, as is marble, cold. Why are friends ravished from us? 'Tis to bind, by soft affection's eyes, on human hearts the thoughts of death, which reason, too supine or misemployed, so rarely fastens there. Nor reason, nor affection, no, nor both combined, can break the witchcrafts of the world. Behold the inexorable hour at hand. Behold the inexorable hour forgot. And to forget it, the chief aim of life, though well to ponder it, is life chief's end. Is death, that ever threatening, nay remote, that all important, and that only sure, come when he will, an unexpected guest? Nay, though invited by the loudest calls of blind imprudence, unexpected still? Though numerous messengers are sent before to warn his great arrival, what the cause, the wondrous cause, of this mysterious ill? All heaven looks down astonished at the sight. Is it that life has sown her joys so thick we can't thrust in a single care between? Is it that life has such a swarm of cares the thought of death can't enter for the throng? Is it that time steals on with downy feet, nor wakes indulgence from a golden dream? Today is so like yesterday, it cheats. We take the lion, sister, for the same. Life glides away, Lorenzo, like a brook, forever changing, unperceived the change. In the same brook, none ever bathed in twice, to the same life, none ever twice awoke. We call the brook the same we think our life, though still more rapid in its flow, nor mark the much irrevocably lapsed and mingled with the sea. Or shall we say, retaining still the brook to bear us on, that life is like a vessel on the stream? In life embarked, we smoothly down the tide of time descend, but not on time intent, amused, unconscious of the gliding wave, till on a sudden we perceive a shock. We start, awake, look out. What see we there? Our brittle bark is burst on Charon's shore. Is this the cause death flies all human thought? Or is it judgment by the will struck blind, that domineering mistress of the soul, like him so strong by Delilah the fair? Or is it fear turns startled reason back from looking down a precipice so steep? 'Tis dreadful, and the dread is wisely placed by nature's conscious of the make of man. A dreadful friend it is, a terror kind, a flaming sword to guard the tree of life. By that unawed, in life's most smiling hour, the good man would repine, would suffer joys, and burn impatient for his promised skies. The bad, on each punctilious peak of pride, or gloom of honour, would give rage the rein, bound o'er the barrier, rush into the dark, and mar the scenes of providence below. What groan was that, Lorenzo? Furies rife and drown in your less execrable yell. Britannia's shame there took her gloomy flight on wing impetuous, a black sullen soul, blasted from hell with horrid lust of death, thy friend, the brave, the gallant Altamont. So called, so fought, and then he fled the field. Let space the fear of death than fear of life. O Britain, infamous for suicide, an island in thy manners, far disjoined from the whole world of rationals beside. In ambient waves plunge thy polluted head, wash the desire stain, nor shock the continent. But thou be shocked, while I detect the cause of self-assaults, explore the monster's birth, and bid abhorrence hiss it round the world. Blame not thy clime, nor chide the distant sun. The sun is innocent, thy clime absolved. Immoral climes kind nature never made. The cause I sing in Eden might prevail, and proves it is thy folly, not thy fate. The soul of man, let man in homage bow, who names his soul a native of the skies. High-born and free, her freedom should maintain, unfold, unmortgaged for earth's little bribes. The illustrious stranger in this foreign land, like strangers, jealous of her dignity, studious of home, and ardent to return, of earth suspicious, earth's enchanted cup, with cool reserve like touching, should indulge on immortality her godlike taste. There take large draughts, make a chief banquet there. But some reject this sustenance divine, to beggarly vile appetizers descend, ask alms of earth for guests that came from heaven, sink into slaves and fell for present hire. Their rich reversion, and what shares its fate? Their native freedom to the prince who sways this nether world. And when his payments fail, when his sole basket gorges them no more, or their pallid palates loathe the basket full, or instantly, with wild demonic rage for breaking all the chains of providence, and bursting their confinement, though fast barred by laws divine and human, guarded strong with horror, double to defend the pass, the blackest nature or dire guilt can raise, and moted round with fathomless destruction, sure to receive and helm them in their fall. Such, Britons, is the cause to you unknown, or worse, o'erlooked by magistrates, thus criminals themselves. I grant the deed is madness, but the madness of the heart, and what is that? Our utmost bound of guilt, a sensual, unreflecting life is big with monstrous births, and suicide to crown the black infernal brood. The bold to break heaven laws supreme, and desperately rush through sacred nature's murder on their own. Because they never think of death, they die. 'Tis equally man's duty, glory, gain, at once to shun and meditate his end. When by the bed of languishment we sit, the seat of wisdom, if our choice, not fate, or our dying friends in anguish hang, wipe the cold dew, or stay the sinking head, number their moments, and in every clock start at the voice of an eternity. See the dim lamp of life just feebly lift, an agonizing beam at us to gaze, then sink again and quiver into death, that most pathetic herald of our own. How read we such sad scenes, as sent to man in perfect vengeance? No, in pity sent, to melt him down like wax, and then impress, indelible, death's image on his heart, bleeding for others, trembling for himself. We bleed, we tremble, we forget, we smile, the mind turns full before the cheek is dry. Our quick return in folly cancels all, as the tide rushing raises what is writ in yielding sands, and smooths the lettered shore. Lorenzo, hast thou ever weighed a sigh, or studied the philosophy of tears? A science, yet unlectured in our schools, and thou descended deep into the breast, and seen in their source? If not, descend with me, and trace these briny rivulets to their springs. Our funeral tears from different causes rise, as if from separate cisterns in the soul, of various kinds they flow, from tender hearts by soft contagion called. Some burst at once, and stream obsequious to the leading eye. Some ask more time, by curious art distilled. Some hearts in secret hard, unapt to melt, struck by the magic of the public eye. Like Moses, smitten rock gush out amain. Some weep to share the fame of the deceased, so high in merit, and to them so dear. They dwell on praises which they think they share, and thus, without a blush, commend themselves. Some mourn in proof that something they could love. They weep not to relieve their grief, but shew. Some weep in perfect justice to the dead, as conscious all their love is in arrear. Some mischievously weep, not unapprised. Tears, sometimes, aid the conquest of an eye. With what address the soft Ephesians drew their sable network over entangled hearts, as seen through crystal, how their roses glow, while liquid pearl runs trickling down their cheek. Of hers not prouder, Egypt's wanton queen, carousing gems, herself dissolved in love. Some weep at death, abstracted from the dead, and celebrate, like Charles, their own decease. By kind construction some are deemed to weep, because a decent veil conceals their joy. Some weep in earnest, and yet weep in vain, as deep in indiscretion as in woe. Passion, blind passion, impotently pours tears that deserve more tears, while reason sleeps or gazes like an idiot, unconcerned, nor comprehends the meaning of the storm, knows not it speaks to her and her alone. Irrationals all sorrow are beneath, that noble gift, that privilege of man, from sorrow's pang the birth of endless joy. But these are barren of that birth divine, they weep impetuous as the summer storm, and full as short the cruel grief soon tamed. They make a pastime of the stingless tale. Far as the deep resounding knell, they spread the dreadful news, and hardly feel it more. No grain of wisdom pays for them their woe. Half round the globe, the tears plucked up by death are spent in watering vanities of life, in making folly flourish still more fair. When thus sick soul, her wonted stay withdrawn, reclines on earth, and sorrows in the dust, instead of learning there her true support, though there thrown down her true support to learn, without heaven's aid impatient to be blessed, she crawls to the next shrub or bramble vile, though from stately cedar's arms she fell, with stale, foreworn embraces, clings anew, the stranger weds, and blossoms, as before, in all the fruitless fopperies of life, presents her weed, well fancied at the ball, and raffles for the death's head on the ring. So wept Aurelia, till the destined youth stepped in with his receipt for making smiles, and blanching fables into bridal bloom. So wept Lorenzo, fair Clarissa's fate, who gave that angel boy on whom he dotes, and died to give him, orphaned in his birth. Not such, Narcissa, my distress for thee. I'll make an altar of thy sacred tomb, to sacrifice to wisdom. What wast thou, young, gay, and fortunate? Each yields a theme, I'll dwell on each, to shun thought more severe. Heaven knows I labour with severer still. I'll dwell on each, and quite exhaust thy death. A soul without reflection, like a pile without inhabitant, to ruin runs. And first, thy youth, what phase it to grey hairs? Narcissa, I'm become thy pupil now. Early, bright, transient, chaste as morning dew, she sparkled, was exhaled, and went to heaven. Time on this head has snowed, yet still 'tis borne aloft, nor thinks but on another's grave. Covered with shame I speak it, age severe, old worn out vice sets down for virtue fair, with graceless gravity chastising youth, that youth chastised surpassing in a fault, father of all, forgetfulness of death, as if, like objects pressing on the sight, death has advanced too near us to be seen, or that life's lone time ripened into right, and men might plead prescription from the grave, deathless from repetition of reprieve, deathless, far from it, just are dead already, their hearts are buried, and the world's their grave. Tell me, some god, my guardian angel, tell, what thus infatuates, what enchantment plants the phantom of an age twixt us and death already at the door. He knocks, we hear him, and yet we will not hear. What mail defends our untouched hearts? What miracle turns off the pointed thought which from 1,000 quivers is daily darted, and is daily shunned? We stand as in a battle, throngs on throngs around us falling, wounded oft ourselves, though bleeding with our wounds, immortal still. We feed time's furrows on another's brow, and death entrenched, preparing his assault. How few themselves in that just mirror see, or seeing, draw their inference as strong. There death is certain, doubtful, here he must, and soon we may within an age expire. Though grey our heads, our thoughts and aims are green, like damaged clocks whose hands and bell descend. Folly sings 6, while nature points at 12. Absurd longevity, more, more, it cries, more life, more wealth, more trash of every kind. And wherefore mad for more, when relish fails? Object and appetite must club for joy. Shall folly labour hard to mend the bow? Baubles, I mean, that strike us from without, while nature is relaxing every string. As thought for joy, grow rich and hoard within, think you the soul, when this life's rattles cease, has nothing of more manly to succeed? Contract the taste immortal, learn even now to relish what alone subsists hereafter, divine or none, henceforth your joys forever. Of age the glory is, to wish to die, that wish is praise and promise, it applauds past life, and promises our future bliss. What weakness see not children in their fires? Grand climacterical absurdities, grey-haired authority to faults of youth, how shocking! It makes folly thrice a fool, and our first childhood might our last despise. Peace and esteem is all the age can hope. Nothing but wisdom gives the first the last, nothing but the repute of being wise. Folly bars both, our age is quite undone. What folly can be ranker? Like our shadows, our wishes lengthen as our sun declines, nor with should loiter, then this side the grave, our hearts should leave the world before the knell calls for our carcasses to mend the soil. Enough to live in tempest, die in port. Age should fly concourse, cover, in retreat, defects of judgment, and the will subdue, walk thoughtful on the silent, solemn shore. of that vast ocean it must fail too soon, and put good works on board, and wait the wind that shortly blows us into worlds unknown. If unconfided to a dreadful scene, all should be prophets to themselves, foresee their future fate foretaste. This art would waste the bitterness of death, the thought of death alone, the fear destroys. A disaffection to that precious thought is more than midnight darkness on the soul, which sleeps beneath it on a precipice, puffed off by the first blast and lost forever. Dost ask, Lorenzo, why so warmly pressed, by repetition hammered on thine ear, the thought of death? That thought is the machine, the grand machine, that heaves us from the dust, and rears us into men. That thought plied home, will soon reduce the ghastly precipice or hang in hell, will soften the descent, and gently slope our passage to the grave. How warmly to be wished! What hearts of flesh would trifle with tremendous? Dare extremes, yawn over the fate of infinite. What hand beyond the blackest brand of censure bold, to speak a language too well known to thee, would at a moment give its all to chance, and stamp the die for an eternity? Aid me, Narcissa, aid me to keep pace with destiny, and ere my skiff has cut my thread of life, to break this tougher thread of moral death that ties me to the world. Sting thou my slumbering reason to send forth a thought of observation on the foe, to sally and survey the rapid march of his 10,000 messengers to man, who Jehu-like behind him turns them all accident apart, by nature signed. My warrant is gone out, though dormant yet, perhaps behind one moment lurks my fate. Must I then forward only look for death? Backward I turn mine eye and find him there. Man is a self-survivor every year. Man, like a stream, is in perpetual flow. Death's a destroyer of quotidian prey. My youth, my noontide, his, my yesterday. The bold invader shares the present hour. Each moment on the former shuts the grave. While man is growing, life is in decrease, and cradles rock us nearer to the tomb. Our birth is nothing but our death begun. As tapers waste, that infant they take fire. Shall we then fear, lest that should come to pass, which comes to pass each moment of our lives? If fear we must, let that death turn us pale, which murders strength and ardour. What remains should rather call on death than dread his call. Ye partners of my fault and my decline, thoughtless of death, but when your neighbour's knock, rude visitant, knocks hard at your dull sense, and with its thunder scarce obtains your ear, by death your theme in every place and hour, nor longer want, ye monumental sires, a brother tomb to tell you, you shall die. That death you dread, so great is nature's skill, no, you shall court before you shall enjoy. But you are learned, in volumes deep you sit, in wisdom shallow, pompous ignorance. Would you be still more learned than the learned? Learn well to know how much need not be known, and what that knowledge which impairs your sense. Unhedged lies open in life's common field, and bids all welcome to the vital feast. You scorn what lies before you in the page of nature and experience, moral truth, of indispensable eternal fruit, fruit on which mortals feeding turn to gods, and dive in science for distinguished names. Dishonest surmontation of your pride, sinking in virtue as you rise in fame, your learning, like the lunar beam, affords light, but not here, it leaves you undevout, frozen at heart, while speculation shines. Awake, ye curious indigators, fond of knowing all, but what avails you? Known, if you would learn death's character, attend. All casts of conduct, all degrees of health, all dyes of fortune, and all dates of age, together shook in his impartial urn, come forth at random, or if choice is made, the choice is quite sarcastic, and insults all bold conjecture and fond hopes of man. What countless multitudes not only leave, but deeply disappoint us by their deaths, though great our sorrow, greater our surprise. Like other tyrants, death delights to smite. What smitten most proclaims the pride of power, and arbitrary nod, his joy supreme, to bid the wretch survive the fortunate. The feeble wrapped athletic in his shroud, and weeping fathers build their children's tomb. Me thine, Narcissa, what though short thy date, virtue, not rolling suns, the mind matures. Thy life is long, which answers life's great end. The time that hears no fruit, bears no fruit, deserves no name. The man of wisdom is the man of years. In hoary youth, Methusalem may die. Oh, how misdated on their flattering tombs. Narcissa's youth has lectured me thus far, and can her gaiety give counsel too? That, like the Jews' famed oracle of gems, sparkles instruction, such as throws new light, and opens more the character of death. I'll know unto thee, Lorenzo, this thy vaunt, give death his due, the wretched and the old. Even let him sweep his rubbish to the grave. Let him not violate kind nature's laws, but old man born to live as well as die. Wretched and old thou givest him, young and gay he takes, and plunder is a tyrant's joy. What if I prove the farthest from the fear, or often nearest to the stroke of fate? Or, more than common, menaces an end, a blaze betoken brevity of life. As if bright embers should emit a flame, glad spirit sparkled from Narcissa's eye, and made youth younger, and taught life to live, as nature's opposites wage endless war for this offence, as treason to the deep, inviolable stupor of his reign, where lust and turbulent ambition sleep. Death took swift vengeance, as he life detests. More life is still more odious, and, reduced by conquest, aggrandizes more his power. But wherefore aggrandized? By heaven's decree, to plant the soul on her eternal guard, in awful expectation of our end. Thus runs death's dread commission, strike but so, as most alarms the living by the dead. Here stratagem delights him, and surprise and cruel sport with man's securities, not simple conquest, triumph in his aim. And, where least feared, their conquest triumphs most. This proves my bold assertion not too bold. What are his arts to lay our fears asleep? Tiberian arts his purposes wrap up in deep dissimulation's darkest night, like princes unconfessed in foreign courts, who travel under cover. Death assumes the name and look of life, and dwells among us. He takes all shapes that serve his black designs, though matter of a wider empire far than that over which the Roman eagle flew. Like Nero, he's a fiddler, charioteer, or drives his phaeton in female guise, quite unsuspected, till, the wheel beneath, his disarrayed oblation he devours. He most affects the forms least like himself, his slender self. Hence burly corpulence is his familiar wear, and sleek disguise. Behind the rosy bloom he loves to lurk, or ambush is in a smile, or wanton dive in dimples deep. Love's eddies, which draw in unwary hearts, and sink them in despair. Such on Narcissa's couch he loitered long, unknown, and, when detected, still was seen to smile. Such peace has innocence in death. Most happy they, whom least his arts deceive. One eye on death, and one full fixed on heaven, becomes immortal, and immortal man. Long on his wiles a peaked and jealous spy, I've seen or dreamt I saw the tyrant's dress, lay by his horrors, and put on his smiles. Say, Muse, for thou remembered, call it back, and show Lorenzo the surprising scene. If 'twas a dream, his genius can explain. 'Twas in a circle of the gay I stood, death would have entered, nature pushed him back. Supported by a doctor of renown, his point he gained, then artfully dismissed the sage. For death, designed to be concealed, he gave an old vivacious usurer his meagre aspect and his naked bones, in gratitude for plumping up his prey, a pampered spendthrift whose fantastic air, well-fashioned figure, and cockaded brow he took in charge, and underneath the pride of costly linen tucked his filthy shroud. His crooked bow he straightened to a cane, and hid his dreadful deadly shafts in Myra's eye. The dreadful masquerader, thus equipped, outsallies on adventures. Ask you where? Where is he not? For his peculiar haunts, let this suffice, sure as night follows day, death treads in pleasure's footsteps round the world. When pleasure treads the paths which reason shuns, when against reason riot shuts the door, and gaiety supplies the place of sense, then foremost at the banquet and the ball, death leads the dance, or stamps the deadly die, nor ever fails the midnight bowl to crown. Gaily carousing to his gay compeers, inly he laughs to see them laugh at him, as absent far, and when the revel burns, when fear is banished, and triumphant thought, calling for all the joys beneath the moon, against him turns the key, and bids him sup with their progenitors. He drops his mask, frowns out at full, they start, despair, expire. Scarce with more sudden terror and surprise, from his black mask of nitre, touched by fire, he bursts, expands, roars, blazes, and devours. And is not this triumphant treachery, and more than simple conquest, in the friend? And now, Lorenzo, dost thou wrap thy soul in soft security, because unknown which moment is commissioned to destroy? In death's uncertainty thy danger lies. Is death uncertain? Therefore thou be fixed, fixed as a sentinel, all eye, all ear, all expectation of the coming foe. Rouse, stand in arms, nor lean against thy spear, lest slumber steal one moment of thy soul, and fate surprise thee nodding. Watch, be strong, thus give each day the merit and renown of dying well, though doomed but once to die, nor let life's period, hidden as for most, hide too from thee the precious use of life. Early, not sudden, was Narcissus' fate. Soon, not surprising, death his visit paid. Her thought went forth to meet him on his way, nor gaiety forgot it was to die. Though fortune too, our third and final theme, as an accomplice, played her gaudy plumes, and ever glittering gewgaw on her sight, to dazzle and debauch it from its mark. Death's dreadful advent in the mark of man is the mark of man, and every thought that miss it is blind. Fortune, with youth and gaiety, conspired to weave a triple wreath of happiness, if happiness on earth, to crown her brow. And could death charge through such a shining shield? That shining shield invites the tyrant's spear, as if to damp our elevated aims, and strongly preach humility to man. Oh, how portentous is prosperity! How comet-like it threatens while it shines! Few years but yield as proof of death's ambition, to cull his victims from the fairest fold, and sheath his shafts in all the pride of life. When flooded with abundance, purpled o'er with recent honours, bloomed with every bliss, set up in ostentation, made the gaze the gaudy centre of the public eye, when fortune thus has tossed her child in air, snatched from the covert of an humble state, how often have I seen him drop at once our morning's envy, and our evening's sigh, as if her bounties were the signal given, the flowery wreath to mark the sacrifice, and call death's arrows on the destined prey. High fortune seems in cruel league with fate. Ask you for what? To give his war on man, the deeper dread and more illustrious spoil, thus to keep daring mortals more in awe. And burns Lorenzo still for the sublime of life, to hang his airy nest on high, on the slight timber of the topmost bough, rocked at each breeze, and menacing a fall, granting grim death at equal distance there. Yet peace begins just where ambition ends. What makes man wretched? Happiness denied? Lorenzo, no, 'tis happiness disdained. She comes too meanly dressed to win our smile, and calls herself content, a homely name. Our flame is transport, and content our scorn. Ambition turns and shuts the door against her, and weds the toil, a tempest in her stead, a tempest to warm transport near akin, unknowing what our mortal state admits. Life's modest joys we ruin while we raise, and all our ecstasies our wounds to peace. Peace, the full portion of mankind below. And since thy peace is dear, ambitious youth, of fortune fond, as thoughtless of thy fate, As late I drew death's picture to stir up thy wholesome fears, now, drawn in contrast, see gay fortunes, thy vain hopes to reprimand. See, high in air, the sportive goddess hangs, unlocks her casket, spreads her glittering ware, and calls the giddy winds to puff abroad her random bounties o'er the gaping throng. All rush rapacious, friends o'er trodden friends, sons o'er their fathers, subjects o'er their kings, priests o'er their gods, and lovers o'er the fair, still more adored, to snatch the golden shower. Gold glitters most, where virtue shines no more, as stars from absent suns have leave to shine. Oh, what a precious pack of votaries, unknelled from the prisons and the stews, pour in, all opening, in the idol's praise, all ardent, aye, each wafter of a hand, and, wide expanding their voracious jaws, morsel on morsel, swallow down unchewed, untasted, through mad appetite for more, gorged to the throat, yet lean and ravenous still, sagacious all, to trace the smallest game, and bold to seize the greatest, if, blessed chance, court zephyrs sweetly breathe, they launch, they fly, o'er just or sacred, or forbidden ground, drunk with the burning scent of place or power, staunch to the foot of lucre, till they die. Or, if the men you take them, as I mark their manners, thou their various fates survey, with aim mismeasured and impetuous speed, some, darting, strike their ardent with afar off, throw fury to possess it, some succeed, but stumble, and let fall the taken prize, from some by sudden blasts, as whirled away, and lodged in bosoms that ne'er dreamed again, to some it sticks to close, that when torn off, torn is the man, and mortal is the wound. Some, over enamoured of their bags, run mad, grown under gold, yet weep for want of bread. Together some, unhappy rivals, seize, and rend abundance into poverty. Loud croaks the raven of the law, and smiles, smiles too the goddess, but smiles most at those just victims of exorbitant desire, who perish at their own request, and, wound beneath her load of lavish grants, expire. Fortune is famous for her numbers slain, the number small which happiness can bear, though various for a while their fates, at last one curse involves them all. At death's approach, all read their riches backward into loss, and mourn in just proportion to their store. And death's approach, if orthodox my song, is hastened by the lure of fortune's smiles. And art thou still a glutton of bright gold? And art thou still rapacious of thy ruin? Death loves a shining mark, a signal blow, a blow which, while it executes, alarms, and startles thousands with a signal fall, as when some stately growth of oak or pine, which nods aloft, and proudly spreads her shade, the sun's defiance, and the flock's defence, by the strong strokes of labouring hinds subdued, loud groans her last, and, rushing from a height in cumbrous ruin, thunders to the ground. The conscious surest trembles at the shock, and hill and stream and distant dale resound. These high-aimed darts of death, and these alone, should I collect, my quiver would be full, a quiver which, suspended in mid-air, or near heaven's archer in the zodiac hung, so could it be, should draw the public eye, the gaze and contemplation of mankind, constellation awful, yet benign, to guide the gay through life's tempestuous wave, nor suffer them to strike the common rock, from greater danger to grow more secure, and wrapped in happiness forget their fate. Lysander, happy past the common lot, was warned of danger, but too gay to fear. He wooed the fair Aspasia. She was kind in youth, form, fortune, fame. They both were blessed. All who knew envied, yet in envy loved. Can fancy form more finished happiness? Fixed was the nuptial hour. Her stately dome rose on the sounding beach. The glittering spires float in the wave and break against the shore. So break those glittering shadows, human joys. The faithless morning smiled. He takes his leave to re-embrace in ecstasies at eve. The rising storm forbids. The news arrives untold. She saw it in a servant's eye. She felt it seen, her heart was apt to feel, and, drowned, without the furious ocean's aid, in suffocating sorrows, shares his tomb. Now, round the sumptuous bridal monument, the guilty billows innocently roar, and the rough sailor, passing, drops a tear. A tear? Can tears suffice? But not for me. How vain our efforts, and our arts, how vain the distant train, for I took to shun has thrown me on my fate. These died together, happy in ruin, undivorced by death, of ne'er to meet, or ne'er to part, is peace. Narcissa, pity bleeds at the thought of thee, yet thou wast only near me, not myself, survive myself. That cures all other woe. Narcissa lives, Philander is forgot. Oh, the soft commerce, oh, the tender ties, close swift twisted with the fibres of the heart, which broken break them, and drain off the soul of human joy, and make it pain to live. And is it then to live, when such friends part? 'Tis the survivor dies, my heart no more. End of chapter 5.